No, hello everyone. If you're tuned in here, it means you know what time it is. It is time to wine with Wanda. Thank you for tuning in. It is episode 14. What a fun adventure it's been. And as always, I want to start by thanking all of you for watching. So today we are going to one of my favorite places in the world. We're going to Italy. We're going to Tuscany, and more specifically, we're going to Montalcino, one of the most prestigious wine regions in Italy and beyond, and home of the majestic and beautiful wine, Brunello di Montalcino. And who could be a better guide for us today than Count Francesco Marone Cinzano, owner of Col d'Orscia, one of the most important wineries in the region, in fact, one of the oldest. Their winemaking history goes back to the 1700s, and they are now the largest certified organic estate in Tuscany. In fact, they poetically call themselves an organic island. So today, of course, we're going to be drinking Brunello. We're going to start with the 2015 Brunello di Montalcino Col d'Orscia. 2015, if you're a fan of Italian wines and Brunello, you know, great vintage. And then we're going to get into the Poggio al Vento Brunello di Montalcino Riserva 2013. So without further ado, let's see if the count is on. And here we go. Let's bring him into the chat. Instagram magic. Connecting.
Hello,
Ciao!
Wanda. Hello, how are you?
Ciao, Count Cinzano. How are you?
Very good. Nice to see you.
Nice to see. Oh, what a beautiful setting. Oh.
Well, I came under the great oak tree. I don't know if you can appreciate
Oh,
the
I love
the
it.
size of this tree. It's the oak tree of Poggio al Vento. Behind just outside of the canopy of the tree, you can see some vineyards, and that is the Brunello di Montalcino Riserva Poggio al Vento vineyard.
Wonderful. So you're really taking us on a beautiful tour today. I appreciate it. I love Italy very much. I love Tuscany, and I haven't made it to Italy this year. Makes
No,
me
last
very
time we
sad.
saw each other here, it was a bit cold. It was winter.
Yes, I saw you for the Benvenuto Brunello event in New York. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So how have you been? How are things going in Montalcino?
Well, we're having a good season. We had just a small touch of frost, but nothing too bad. And then we had enough rain so far. We're looking at the dry spell now. We follow the moon, we follow the biodynamics as well, and so this new moon has started with high pressure, with good weather, and so we think it's going to last all through this month. And then, well, hopefully then it's going to be all downhill towards the harvest.
Absolutely. So, I love to give folks just a little bit of background. So, as I mentioned, the estate goes back to the 1700s, but it came into your family's life in 1973, originally
That's
from
right. That's
Piemonte,
right. It's an
Illinois.
old estate. You find news of from the owners of this hill on the southern side of Montalcino, going back many centuries in the archives of the Republic of Siena. And then over the centuries, the hill has been the property of just a small number of families. And my father arrived here in 1973, at a time when Montalcino was in a very unique time of its history. It was actually one of the poorest municipalities in Italy in the mid 70s.
Oh,
So
wow.
just think how far we have come in few years, and so my father started planting vineyards in a modern way. There were here we still had in the 1970s vineyards planted together with olive trees and with other crops. So a very promiscuous kind of agriculture. Uh, we introduced more modern, if you like, more up-to-date technology in all, remaining into the natural, but modern technology to plant vineyards. And the one behind me is one of the oldest, planted in 1974 by my father. And then eventually now we have reached 150 hectares of vineyards. And although we produce quite a number of bottles of Brunello di Montalcino, we still produce handcrafted wines. We are
Wonderful.
artisans, and every bottle is checked by a person before it leaves the cellar. Every bunch of grapes is touched by human hand every year.
Wonderful. You know, what's so interesting about Brunello, the history of the wine itself starts, I guess, in the 19th century, but it really didn't become a global sensation maybe until the 80s, when really people abroad in the US started knowing about Brunello di Montalcino. What is it about this wine that is so captivating and so special, do you think?
Well, when wine lovers around the world had a chance to taste old bottles of Brunello di Montalcino, bottles that had rested in the cellars for a long time, even
Mm-hmm.
10, even 20 years, they realized how unique Brunello di Montalcino is, what unique emotions it can generate after it has the chance to evolve in the bottle, to soften those dry and rough tannins you find in Brunello bottle when it's
True.
young at times. And once they have mellowed, rounded up, wine lovers around the world realize how special, how unique Montalcino is. And it is really unique because, it is a great denomination, a great appellation, Brunello, known all over the world. Yet, of the municipality of Montalcino, which you are allowed to plant vineyards everywhere in the municipality, only 15% of the land is planted with vineyards. There's a great biodiversity in Montalcino. There's a great presence of natural woodland. So really a very sustainable situation here in Montalcino, which is not common for the great appellations of wine around Europe and around the world.
True. And, I'm so glad you mentioned biodiversity. So I know you are the largest certified organic estate in Tuscany. That's pretty impressive. And you call yourself an organic island.
Yes, well, the estate is quite sizable. It's in acres. It's more than 1,200 acres. So there is the room, for instance, for bees to fly around and to pasture in a clean environment, an environment which is within the boundaries of the estate. I'm mentioning the honey because this morning we got the first batch of honey
Oh,
from this year,
nice.
and so we've been tasting honey all day. And so it is an island. It is an island. Then we have a lot of very old trees, monuments of nature that we protect, and we feel are part of the quality of the work we do on a daily basis. So organic and biodynamic. Since 2 years and a half, we apply biodynamics to the vineyard, to the farm in general, and the organic. To give you a perspective in terms of time of how we work in a estate that produces Brunello. This year, and we're with you now, we're going to taste the Brunello di Montalcino Riserva 2013.
Yes.
And 2013 is the first certified organic vintage of Cordotta.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Exciting.
And at the same time, I'm celebrating 10 years since the decision of becoming organic. So a short-term project for me has been to decide to become organic 10 years ago, and then reach today the first bottle of Brunello di Montalcino Riserva with the certification.
Oh,
So
congratulations. That's
thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
You
But
bring up an interesting point. I hear a lot of winemakers say, we're organic, but we're not certified. It's very time and it's expensive, the certification. Why was it so important for you to be certified as opposed to, yes, we practice it, but we don't want to go through the whole protocol? Why was that important for you, the certification process?
well, it's to reassure consumers. Cordotta is present in more than 70 countries around the world, and with a
Mm-hmm.
very unique position in countries that are managed by monopolies. You have some states in the U.S. as well, like
Yeah, true.
Pennsylvania, for instance.
Exactly.
So those kind of customers or monopolies require certification. So we are present in Sweden and Norway and Canada and in a few others, and we felt also we owe that to the efforts that are made here on the estate by everybody working here to have the seal of approval, official seal of approval.
Absolutely. And also, the other thing I've heard, going back to the history, I hear you have quite the library of old vintages. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's a family tradition. My family has been in wine for many centuries, and we always keep some samples, some bottles of the different vintages, and that was not customary here in Montalcino. So by now we are the estate that has the largest library, the largest collection of old vintages, more than 50,000 bottles going
Wow.
back to the mid 60s. The to about 3 years ago, if I remember correctly, when Barack Obama and Michelle Obama came to visit the region, dinner was organized for them with wines from vintages that had a meaning for them. And so they needed a 1964 to celebrate the year of birth of Michelle Obama. And I had a bottle of Brunello 1964 sent to the American ambassador for the occasion because I was the winery that had the vintage available.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, I have a birthday coming up, but I'm not going to tell the year to everyone listening. We can talk
You
offline.
send me a private message.
Yes. Well, I love the fact, we think of Brunello very traditional, very classic, maybe, very serious wine. But I love that you always bring a sense of fun to it. You're always open to innovation. So I noticed you're doing something called smart tastings on your website. So you want to tell the world a little bit about the smart tastings?
Well, I realize that people, even though they are at home, and some people are even with things reopening, a bit worried about going outside, they still want to socialize, and video such as we're doing now is a good substitute in the meantime. So I have bottles shipped to the homes of wine lovers, and then we make an appointment Friday afternoon at 7 o'clock, time of the aperitif, and it's quite interesting because people are very relaxed. They're in their own home. They don't need to drive back home or anything like that. So they actually seem to enjoy the glass of wine even more than they would in a tasting in a restaurant, in a wine shop.
Guide them through it. You're part of the tasting with them.
Oh, absolutely,
Whoa,
absolutely. I
nice.
wouldn't miss it. You get very interesting questions and comments and all that.
I love it. So they can say, "Oh, we had cocktails with the Count tonight." Very nice. So should we start our smart tasting? I think we
Very,
should,
of
right?
course. Yes, yes.
So we both have the 2015 Brunello de Montalcino Codoscia, and in the U.S. this retails for about $55 for those watching. So
So 2015 is a 5-star vintage. You
yes.
mentioned that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's the climate during 2015 was characterized by a very hot July, which you find in this wine in terms of the rounded tannins, the very approachable tannins, even though the wine is still young. And then the second feature, from a climatic point of view, was the freshness of the nights in September during the last part of the ripening of the grapes, and that has left the wine with a nice fruitiness to it, a nice crisp red berries, underwood berries, but rather bright and rather fresh. And the same in the mouth. The first thing that you notice is this freshness, this acidity that really goes all the way onto the sides of your palate. and then the fullness of this wine, and the close, which is a young, it's still a young wine, so there is some tannins that are going to develop, are going to soften over time. But overall, it's already quite approachable, quite easy drinking Brunello di Montalcino in the early stages of release.
Yeah, it has a lovely balance and freshness, and you can see where it's going, but right now it is very approachable. Because I was worried, it's like, oh, he's making this too young, but right now it's kind of flirting with you. Like, if you think I'm great now, see me in a few years. But really, great wine.
With wines with Brunello Montalcino from Cordorcia is to be able to open it a little bit in advance or leave it in the glass maybe for 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes before drinking it, giving it a chance to breathe a little bit and to show all its potential. This is true with most wines from Cordorcia when they are young.
Great. And I'll let you, here we have the Foggio Alberto 2013. Now, this is a Brunello di Montalcino Reserva, and this retails for about $150 in the US and was aged a minimum of 6 years. So you winemakers are very patient people, very, very patient.
So you remember I mentioned the old bottles of Brunello and how wine lovers sort of understood the real potential of Brunello. That's what we try to confirm with this wine, with this label, with the Brunello di Montalcino Riserva Poggio al Vento. We want to really allow wine lovers to taste a well-mature Brunello. It's still quite young, in this 2013 in particular. It's been open for 15 minutes now, so it's starting to show. The best description that I had about this wine from Wine Lover is he told me this wine tiptoes on your palate.
That's a beautiful description.
It's not so impressive when you for the first sip. It doesn't really blow you away, but then you realize the how long it lingers on your palate, how long the aftertaste and the persistence is, and you also realize that tannins are actually there and quite present, but very silky, very easy to drink.
Yeah, they're kind of ripe tannins, and I love the spiciness to this. It's just very woven in very nicely. It's not overwhelming. The fruit is still there and vibrant, but that spiciness makes it very kind of exciting. Really beautiful.
I always like to remember that Brunello di Montalcino in the textbooks is rated as a medium body wine. It is not a full-bodied wine with like some international grapes that produce very structured and important wines. Brunello di Montalcino is more played on elegance and slenderness of the tannins. So starting from the color, which is quite light, you can actually see
it is, yeah.
To the freshness of the aromas and to the silkiness of the tannin.
And for people just tuning in, because I love that I get a mix of wine geeks like myself and also people new to wine. So what's really interesting about Brunello as well is that it's an expression of Sangiovese, So Sangiovese is the grape, and that region is called Brunello. And many people think that it reaches its highest expression in Montalcino. But the grape in both wines is 100% Sangiovese.
Well, I agree with the people you've been talking to. I believe it is the highest expression of Sangiovese. It's a law of the state of Italy that here in Montalcino we can use only Sangiovese without mixing it in any way or form. It has to be absolutely pure. It has to be by itself, because the combination of the climate and the soil here are so special that the wine is incredible with just pure Sangiovese. And I also add the hand of man, the interpretation by the different winemakers that is another aspect that makes Montalcino so interesting. The
True.
variety of different Brunellos that are available, different, so many different combinations of pure Sangiovese in Montalcino by different winemakers.
Absolutely, it's true. I think it's always important to remember that, people hear Brunello del Montalcino and they think of it as a monolith and have to understand their different styles, expressions, how the terroir and the microclimates impact the wine. So and I should mention, so Poggio Vento means like the hilltop by the winds. What does the name mean?
Yes. I thought quite some time of how to translate it, and I decided on Windy Heights.
Ah, okay.
It reminds me of Wuthering Heights. I think it's poetic, but it's true. It is a ridge where there's always some wind. The leaves of the tree always move, even at midday in July and the hottest day. And the soil is so unique. The soil is former seabed in very old geological eras. So more sandy than the rest of the soils of Montalcino, and with a lot of limestone, a lot of fossils that come from when it was a seabed. So very, very unique soil as well.
Wonderful. Well, Count, I know you have a great sense of humor as well, so I'm really looking forward to your answer to this next question. So I like to ask everyone, all of us who work in wine, it's a beautiful industry, but there are things I think that drive all of us crazy, whether it's a trend or a misconception that people have. So is there something that just drives you crazy that you want to shout out to the world today?
Oh gosh, you really called me there. It's but we all fall for it. I myself, I fall for it, but it still drives me crazy. So much influenced by the label when we're tasting. Blind tasting is so important because we are all influenced by labels, and we shouldn't be. We should taste, and that's what I found on the smart tasting. People tasting wines at home seem to interpret wines in a different way. Maybe because they're surrounded by the usual tastes and aromas, and maybe also because they're more relaxed. They tend to sense wine a lot better, and I think that's important.
I like that. It's sometimes we think wine dating. So I think through things like your smart tastings that show people at the end of the day, wine is meant to be fun and to be enjoyed and to bring us together.
That's right. And it's doing that for us.
Absolutely. Well, who knows when we'll see each other again?
I hope soon in person.
I hope soon in person. While I have you, do you mind if we take a little detour? Because the other fascinating thing about you, so you also make wine in Chile.
I also make wine in Chile, yes, under the Andes, the snow-capped Andes, in the oldest, most traditional wine-producing area of Chile, the one that was chosen by the very early conquistadores when they settled on the Pacific coast of South America. And there I produce an even almost natural wine. The wines of Cordocha are organic and biodynamic and low level of sulfite. There I'm a step further ahead of on the game because the environment is so conducive. There's so much healthiness in the environment that it allows me to work even better with natural wines.
Well, we'll have to have you come back and we'll talk about the Chilean wines because they're fabulous. I love them.
I would love that. Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing your beautiful vineyard with me. I feel transported with the wine. I'm going to have a beautiful steak for dinner tonight and finish this.
Perfect. Good. Wonderful pairing.
Yes. Well, stay safe and grazie.
You too. Healthiness to you, to everybody that's listening to us, and hopefully we'll see each other soon in person.
I hope so too.
Ciao. Good health.
Thank you, everyone.